If you want to change your life, there's a shortcut that I'm going to tell you. And this is one of those overlooked method and even one of those underrated method to achieve anything you want to achieve in this world. And that is nothing but identity shift. Now, you might heard of identity shift so many times, but people throw out all these vague statements about identity shift, but in reality, it's really simple. And I've tried myself, and I'm in the process of shifting my identity, which I'll get in a bit. And I've already seen the results. And I've tried so many things. I've tried to change my habits for the longest of times, and I just couldn't do it because all of it just felt forced. And whatever I tried to do, it was as if I could do it for 3 days and then my consistency just wavered off. But this time it's different because now I've attached myself to this identity that I'm ascending to a newer version of myself. And I know it sounds pretty cliche, a new version of myself, new character, but I'll get into the details in a bit. And for the first time, I can see the results and I can see myself change. And you can do it as well. So, what is identity shifting? For starters, what we are as humans, we tend to have this concept of ourselves, and this is how we perceive ourselves, the self-image, if you will. So you, whatever your name is, you have this character trait and you have this concept of self that you associate all the attributes to yourself, whether positive or negative. And what happens is that we tend to have attributes labels for our own self. For example, when I was growing up, I had this label for the entirety of my life. Even I had this label that I was an introvert. Now it is true to an extent that I am an introvert, that I don't really like to talk to a lot of people, but I'd also found that I enjoyed the company of people sometimes. So was I an introvert? Maybe. But was I forcing myself to be in this identity, to think myself that I'm this shy introvert who's awkward, who can't speak with others, who can't socialize, and whose battery just drains, who hates people? All these are labels or attributes that I had assigned to my old identity. And I'll keep this old identity to my right side so you know, to this side, whatever side you're watching it on. And this is the newer version of myself which I then came across. So when I was studying success, and I wanted to replicate success because I thought that successful people, they followed some sort of blueprint, right? So I started studying all these successful people. They follow some sort of thought pattern or mental model in a way where they're doing something that other people are not doing. And once I started to realize and really see the pattern, I saw that all of them shifted their identity and really demolished and destroyed their old self. And only then they could propel to this new identity. Now, this is a mouthful of words and it sounds like buzzwords, I know, but let me break it down. So what I mean by this new and old identity is that we tend to practice a few daily habits that keep us stuck in our old self. So for me, I was an introvert. I was this shy, awkward guy who didn't like people, who didn't like hanging around with people, or his battery would drain. All five of these were attributes that I labeled myself as with. But were they true? They were not. They were imposed by my own mind with this small little voice in my head that told me that Okay, I'm awkward, I'm shy, I'm an introvert, I hate people, my battery is draining. All of it, whenever I encounter uh, a social event, all of these things just popped into my head, and I believed them, and my old identity was reinforced. No wonder I stayed stuck in this old identity. When I realized, and when I did the study, when I figured all this out, I came to this realization that, and that was kind of a hiccup, but let's continue. And I realized that my old identity is nothing but a an accumulation of old patterns, which means that if you want to propel to a new identity, it should also have a combination of new habits and new behaviors and new patterns, because your new identity already has everything that you want, and this old identity had everything bad that you already had, which was keeping you stuck. So it had all the bad friends, all the vices, all the bad habits that you did, which you weren't proud of. So all you have to do to separate this gap is to realize that you need to have new patterns in life, which also means, and I would even argue that this is the exact definition, that you need to remove the old habits. And most people tend to fixate on what they should add in their lives, what new behaviors, what new routines, what new habits they should add into their lives. Oh, let's wake up at 5 a.m. Oh, let's read a book per week. All of this, I'm not demeaning any of this, but I'm also telling you that in order to grow, it is more important for you to remove than you can add things. Because it is, because think about it. If I'll give you an example of talking to girls. If you're free flowing, if you have a good personality, all you have to do is not say dumb shit. So you have to focus on what not to say, which means you need to reduce or eliminate the bad stuff. Don't say dumb shit, and it's good to go. Your personality will flow. Similarly, you need to remove the bad habits, and in return, you'll already get the good habits, and good patterns will form effortlessly. And this is the gap, and you need to fill all of this gap with the new habits. And one of those things is I call to remove negative associations. Mostly this old identity, it comes with a lot of these old patterns in the form of old contacts, old pictures on your phone, everything that reminds you of the past, everything that reminds you of nostalgic feeling, that brings you back in the past. Avoid all of them at all costs. Before I abstained from girls, and before I had so many friends, because I had moved to two colleges, and I had made so many friends. So I had so many conversations, so many chats on my phone, so many pictures on my phone. And the same was with girls. So then one day I realized the impact it had, and the Google Photos, it just pings me after a year that the event has happened, and it shows as memories. And I started to see the memories, and I started to cherish these memories, and I started to go back in the past. And then I realized, wait, it's giving me this feeling of joy, but it's associated with the past, which means every time I look at it, I'm fixated on the past, which means I'm fixated on the old identity, which means I can never grow if I stay stuck like that. It was a moment of realization. So I wiped my entire phone's photos with anything of that would remind me of the past. And I deleted the old games, old apps that were present on my phone for the longest of time. Because even when looking at that app, even if it's as innocent as a an app, a grocery app that I don't now use, because I was a big person. I was a big foodie back then. I used to I used to take away food so many times in a month, and I just ate in order to eat, and I was stuck in this food eating zone in order to keep up with the restaurants that I had in my local area. So I deleted them. Now I deleted that grocery app, that restaurant app as well. And well, not the restaurant app, but the grocery app, which I used to buy so many. I used to buy so many snacks just for the sake of it. So I deleted it and I removed all the negative association, and you should too, because now all I see is an empty phone, and it reminds me of the new identity I'm becoming, because I'm not the identity right now that I'm aiming to become, but I am in this process. So I've started to adopt these daily practices, and this is what most people don't really realize. They tend to add more without removing the part that is holding them back. Same is with the world of manifestation and energy and vibrations. People do all sorts of stuff. People tend to think that they'll get anything by affirmation, by journaling. But what they don't realize is that their past is holding them back. So how can they propel themselves to this new character without the past holding them back? It just doesn't make sense. So you need to remove all the negative associations with yourself in order to see the change.